Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton. And today we're going to tell you about an exciting and fun and educational conference studying hip hop. My guest is Idonia Barrett from Hampton University. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Now you're in criminal justice and sociology.
Yes.
How does hip hop, I mean, it seems like a natural fit actually. Hip hop, sociology, the study of how we as a society interact. It's a big influence, right?
Huge, greatly. And often as a people, we forget that hip hop is a culture. Normally, you know, the average person may come to mind, just think about the rap side of it, but it's actually a four elements.
Right, it's a music business, that's it. No more, and it's young people, it doesn't spread to the rest of
Yes, that is
population.
a young person thing, a youthful thing, but in actuality, it's not just the rap, that's just one element. We have to consider the DJ, the music behind it as well, the graffiti, the artwork, and as well as the spoken word, which some people try to surmise and put it together with rap, but they can be separated at times. And looking at it through sociology and criminal justice, and actually the focus is not just those two disciplines, but actually through overall the School of Liberal Arts, where we discuss the psychology behind it, where we discuss the political impact that it has had in recent decades, and if not prior, how it's pushed the youth in registering to vote for presidential elections. Also in part when we talk about the English, the literature, the poetry, you know, spoken word, the idea of how you formulate a sentence or how you transition metaphors, similes, and things of that nature. And then of course, according to our school, outside of just liberal arts, just naming those few, the business, as you mentioned.
It's a huge, huge money business now. And it, as you say, it does extend past music because people emulate the stars, and so it is fashion, accessories, you know,
language.
Shoes. I mean, yeah, but it's the money part of the business. But yes, language and how we think. And I think a lot of people want to isolate hip hop to young African Americans, and that's a mistake, right?
Huge mistake. In actuality, it takes apart all persons, and especially if you want to speak to the consumer population, it's not just the African American community or other minorities. It's worldly, it's vast. Last year at our conference, we had the moderator speak, Will Levis. He spoke of how he went to Mongolia, and they were reciting lyrics to him, more in part because they make hip hop and black as synonymous, and you know, they're of a different world, but they knew lyrics, they knew songs, and not just what was current on our radios, you know, the beginnings and the roots of hip hop. So it speaks to also those who are the less fortunate. It gives them a voice, how it actually started in the urban cities. It wasn't about glorifying their condition. It was about what they were going through. And it was their outlet. It just happened to caught fire, and then the corporations and sponsors, that's how it began. They said, there's money behind this, there's a focus, we might as well get in this. And it went further, it spawned further than that.
Well, so if I ask you for a definition of hip hop, I mean, I do think you're right. Most people think it's the same thing as rap, and it's the music, and maybe a little bit of the rapper culture. But how would you define hip hop?
Oh my God, for myself, and even looking into this and studying it more, I realize how it's more influential in my life. Granted, I don't know every hip hop artist out there, especially in terms of the rap or every lyric, but it is a part of my being. It's a part of my style. Oftentimes, it's a part of the language and the conversations I have with friends off the clock. But I would define it definitely as a way of life. It's a being, an outlet, as its purpose, its intention. And we as a people, and I mean everyone, need to cultivate it and respect it for its impact. Whether you feel that you may not take on it day to day, it's in our commercials, Super Bowl commercials, Geico had one a couple of years ago with Salt and Pepper, Push It, Sprint commercials, even, during the Super Bowl this year, I believe it was a Buick commercial. They had music playing, hip-hop music playing, so it's there. Whether you like it or not, you may not be a consumer of it, but you've encountered it in some form or fashion, and we cannot ignore it to think it's just a youthful culture, because the youth that started it, they're grown adults. Some of them have grandchildren. So it's like to say that it's only intended for the teens or the preteens and the 20-somethings. It's gone up the gamut because they are age or older. They're the fathers and the mothers of this culture, so we can't boot out our founders. So it's not just restricted to youth, and I think people need to remember that.
Well, how does, okay, you deal with sociology, but you also deal with criminal justice.
Yes.
And how does influences of rap or hip hop or the gangster sort of side of it tie in with that?
And actually, I'm glad you brought that up about the gangster side. I was just reading an article the other day about how rap lyrics, or rather gangster rap, which is a subgenre, oftentimes is viewed, and it has been more violent in speaking of gang behavior and how it incited this gang in Ireland, Limerick. And how those persons, they had the music playing. They didn't tell who it was, or rather, I can't remember, but how they had the music playing as they went through the streets and harassing civilians and robbing civilians. Of course, we don't want to hear those things, but rap is not and gangster rap is not the only genre that takes part or has incited negative behavior. But for the most part, we cannot ignore it. We have to, it really comes to a person's mind to say, should we hold these persons accountable for what they incite? We can see that back in the 90s with Columbine, they blamed Marilyn Manson's music, hard metal rock. Mm-hmm. And he said, I don't put this in my lyrics, how they interpret it, not to take fault of, but when things tragically happen, we always look for someone to blame.
Right. Is it the music, or did the people have that inclination and use the music as a justification or as a communication?
And then even with the lyrical side of it all, I was just seeing there were some cases recently in Norfolk a couple of years ago where independent artists, the police, they came across a mixtape where his lyrics told of a crime that only the perpetrator would know of.
Yes.
And the question becomes, when does it become censorship, or when does it become freedom of speech? One's right in that notion, but they were able to use the lyrics. They fought it, and it happened also decades ago with Eminem, where someone in his lyrics was talking about beating up a member of Cypress Hill. He didn't literally mean it, but a follower took it to heart and saw that member and beat him. And the question became, should we hold Eminem liable for inciting, or did he incite this person? So there's always this fine line, and it's something that we look at also when we speak to the lyrics within hip hop.
Now, so much of hip hop and rap comes from self-expression. Yes. And I know there are programs in the city that work with teens, that spoken word is either a path to rap or its own genre, depending on, where people want to go with it. But it is like, old school poetry, literacy. I wrote for the literary magazine when I was in high school and college, and it's kind of that sort of thing with performance elements.
Oh, yes.
Is it a therapy? Is it how does it affect young people to have outlets and to be sort of trained in how to express yourself?
Oh, yeah. It definitely allows them to open up their creative minds. And actually this year, we're seeking to have miniature workshops for those who are well respected or known in the community for their spoken words to help hone in. We're going to bring in high schoolers who have that edge, or who's seeking to do that, to go about training or better yet, guiding them. Because often, as you said, and it is known, it is self-expression. For some people, it's a form of escape.
Or healing, or future energy and ideas.
Yes, and we have that often, especially in our showcase, which is the culmination of the overall conference. We go about auditions, but yet the students, we guide them, or more so we just tell them, this is the idea. Go ahead and write about it. And just to hear them, what they come up with, their creativity is just amazing. And a lot of them, it is therapeutic. a lot of them use it to advocate for an issue or something that they perhaps experienced. So it's really about opening the mind, and that's why I really pushed it to have it within the School of Liberal Arts, not just limited to, but because it touches on all those elements.
All those disciplines. Okay, so this conference is on your campus primarily. Yes. Is it open to the whole public? Is it really focused on students? I mean, tell me, we've talked about hip hop, but we haven't talked as much about the conference.
Yes, the conference, which is called the Art of Hip Hop, a conference put on by the School of Liberal Arts. It is open and free to the public, and
free.
It is, yes, free, 99, and it's child friendly. We had the panel discussions last year. Our inaugural year was called Do You Still Love Her?, which is paying homage to Common, when he was known as Common Sense, hearing every rhyme. Because the question is, it's viewed as, and it's known to be, as I've stressed as well, so impactful and more so pushed on the minority community, yet is hitting or receiving such negativity. Well, if it's our thing, what are you doing about it? Any genre or anybody has a negative side, but what are you doing to promote the positive side? What are you doing to show what it does in the community? So kind of put the blame on everyone last year, and yet open the discussion. We look to its roots. We actually have Freedom Williams, who's the front man of CNC Music Factory.
Oh, wow.
A song you probably all know. Everybody dance now. So he was amazing, and a Hamptonian. So
I didn't know that.
I didn't know either.
Yeah.
But I actually still keep in touch with him.
Now, when you say Hamptonian, does that mean City of Hampton or Hampton
Oh, he
U?
graduated. He went to Hampton University. Okay. So, and that's another focus. We try to pull persons who have greatly impacted or are involved in the industry some form of fashion. But yes, it's friendly, environmental friendly. It's a 2-day. This year it's on February 10th and 11th, which is a Wednesday and a Thursday. Again, we also have a silent auction of artwork from students and outside artists, or local artists in the Hampton Roads area.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, paintings, sculptures, 3D printing, and then we just have a good time, and it's called Beyond the Music. And then we also deal in part with panel discussions, looking at the role of women, as well as another dealing with the business side of hip hop. And
the role of women, I was going to ask you about that earlier, but that I think is sort of a controversial piece. It's one that I identify with a lot. It has been a challenge, but I think women's voices are more heard and more influential maybe than they used to be. You think that's fair?
Yes, it is definitely increased, but it's still viewed as a man's world in all avenues, not even just in the rap.
Rap is almost exclusively, but is the rest of hip hop, I guess what I'm asking. We're just supposed to dance in the backgrounds?
Yeah, and that's definitely what I want to dispel and begin to. They're not just the video vixens, they are the CEOs, they are the managers, they are the agents, they are dealing with the person's image, they are the producers, they are the writers, they are the musicians. So, and actually this year, as our focus is imaging and sampling, last year we exclusively had a women's panel, and I didn't want to just make it a girls thing, but in essence, we have to have that. That's something that was viewed as just a woman. Though women have been there from the beginning, there are far and few, or they're often pitted against each other. There seems to never be, as it hasn't been in a while, more than one woman at the top. And actually this year we are pushing to have more women who are within the industry as the videographer, the producers. A friend of mine who's actually, she deals with the images of the artists, and she screens them. She looks to promote them in what way that they would sell out in the industry. Also the writers, just in the music or even the print journalism within hip hop, the magazines, the websites that are out there. So they are there and they are strong. They're few, but they are there. And we definitely want to promote that voice because they still have to deal with this masculinity that hip hop has from time to time portrayed.
It's, being inside a culture that is very male dominated is a different thing. And young women who want that career path or want to grow up into that career path have to understand it before they can get in and potentially change it.
Oh yeah, and that's what we also want to push to them, to let them know they can do it. You don't have to, the term sell out or adhere to being the pretty one. I mean, you could be pretty and strong, and you know, why do you have to categorize yourself? You know, as long as you're talented and you can complete the task, that's all that should matter. And we know we're not gender blind or color blind, but hey, we're trying to break those barriers as best as we can.
Right, or at least redefine things.
Exactly.
Thank you for coming. This sounds really fun.
I hope to see you there.
I hope so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for watching. I hope this has given you a little bit of a broader definition maybe of what hip hop is, a little bit of understanding and how it plays into the broader culture in this country and beyond. And if you are interested in more, you'll attend some part of the conference. Thanks.